share with you a
Big
couple of
question.
observations, just even looking at, so if I give my initial assessment, and of course, it's like if people ask me all the time, like the minute you were on sabbatical, they were, is he really doing it? Do you ever hear from him? So we were in contact, like we were in contact the whole time. It's not like you were cutting everything off. And maybe I'm just lucky to have that level of that clearance level or whatever. But the my observation, just looking at you right now from that perspective, you look, I would say, you've lost a little bit of weight, looks like you don't look, no, I'm just sharing you how the things, you look relaxed, you look like your complexion has had some impact on it.
My complexion.
I think so. I think you got a rosy glow about you. You don't look as you don't look bloated. No, I mean in your eyes sometimes you would look weary as things were really getting going
Oh
there.
yeah, no, I'm a lot less stressed than I
That's what I
probably
think. I
was
think
before.
would you say in the that great book, the 10% happier, would you say you're 10% happier?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
probably say I'm 20 or 30% happier.
So it was all net told that a 20 or 30% gain in your happiness and energy thing. And I think that people often look at the thing of a sabbatical as something you've got to, that you're saving up for, and then you're gonna dig out of your savings to pay for that. But I think there's a way to come into a sabbatical and come out financially ahead of where you if you're paying attention and doing things
No, absolutely. I mean, I wrote a list of some things down because I kept lessons throughout the whole sabbatical of what am I learning, what am I doing. The way that I started it, and some people, I'll take you back to where I started a sabbatical in the first place. That was the best term that I could come up with for how to cut off the constant onslaught of communications that were coming towards me, which I fully designed a life that invited all those things in, right? So, I mean, I am fully responsible for all of the relationships, all of the inputs, all of the different things. I mean, from everything we subscribe to all the different ways you're plugged in. It was really funny. Today was the first Facebook post I made in, a year and 4 months. Earlier today, it wasn't even that good of a one. It was just like, check out my Instagram to get details on this thing I'm doing with Dean Jackson today. And then I did an Instagram story, and it was one of the things I wrote here. How did I write it? I wrote, let me see here, something along the lines of, I want to get it exactly right. Not being on social media is healthier for my brain than reading inspirational quotes on social media. And, I mean, some people interact with different things differently. But, I get sucked into bright, shiny objects. I'm certainly ADD. My dear friend, Ned Hollowell, the top ADD, ADHD psychiatrist in the world, he was actually at our event. I interviewed him. Yeah. And he wrote a really great book.
We did a great episode with him, too.
Yes, exactly. While on sabbatical, right? Yeah. While I was on sabbatical, you and Ned did that live. And so I imagine many people here have maybe even read his book, but it's called ADHD 2.0. But, when you're so pressed, like for time, it's hard to be able to digest stuff when you have so much coming in. Your digestive system doesn't work physically, while your brain is very similar. If you have too many tabs open, it's really hard to focus on much of anything. And to go back, what caused me to take the sabbatical in the first place is I have a friend that I got the term ELF, easy, lucrative, and fun, years ago, back in the late 90s. We were playing golf, and which I rarely play because I personally like George Carlin. I think golf is sort of a waste of real estate, but we were playing golf, and he said, create an ELF business, easy, lucrative, and fun. And I go, I actually like that. I like the ring that. I'm going to develop that into something. And then I came up with HALF, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. Right. And I was looking at my business over the years, what's ELF, what's half. And the type of marketing that we teach on I Love Marketing, I really would put into the ELF category. It's like, how do you replicate yourself? How do you set up like automation? And part of it is as much of an attitude as it is a technique. And when it came to managing time, the people that I looked at, I've been to more time management seminars and productivity courses, and I'm friends with a lot of the top people in the world. I mean, heck, even back in, when was it? Probably 2002 or something. David Allen, who wrote Getting Things Done.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he flew out to my office, and I spent half a day helping him with GTD marketing, and he helped me with getting my shit together.
Yeah.
And I could, I just didn't have the brain to do all the things that David recommends. But, part of what you do with your time is time management by attitude, which I really kind of developed that through talking with JR, who's worked for me for over 12 years, which, you look at things and you basically make the decision, do I need to do any of this shit? Like, do I really need to do any of this shit? And there's a lot of, if you build up a brand or an ego or a following, you can find yourself in success traps. And so, as Dan Sullivan says, success traps are harder to get out of than failure traps. And I found myself in a lot of success traps, as does everyone here. Everyone has their own version of a success trap. You have to fulfill an obligation. You have to deliver on something. It's one of the downsides of being a good marketer is you can sell stuff. And oftentimes you will sell things that require a follow-up that you may not be well equipped to handle.
Right.
Or you might sell too much of it. And then you have a capacity thing. Like, our friend Keith Cunningham says, many companies don't die of starvation. They die of indigestion, where you just have too much stuff, going on. And so going back to Mark, Mark had given me this term ELF. For years, we had developed ELF marketing systems. It's one of the things that has allowed me to, frankly, do pretty good. If I had not had developed ELF marketing systems, which is neurotic as I am, I don't know how I'd ever would have made a living, because I just bounce around to different stuff. So I'd done pretty well. We trained, thousands of business owners how to do better marketing. And, I built up Genius Network. I've, equity in over 25 different companies, doing pretty darn good. And then I decided, a few years ago, I wanted to start helping people with addiction recovery. And here I was spending about half my time helping people with addiction, not making any money off of that, but fortunately able to do that because it's very fulfilling work. And I wouldn't be able to do that work had I not built a business that helped, bring in revenue and things to do that. And so in 2020, in March is when in America all this sort of started for us, and the pandemic. And I was talking to Mark on, a couple times a week, and he was the one that gave me the term ELF, and he was very wealthy. He was worth about, I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure around 300 million. And I'd introduced him recently to Paul Abdul, the singer, who I've known for years. And they were putting together a big project. And then, one day in summer of, 2020, I get a message from his son asking me if he can call me on WhatsApp. And I said, sure. And so I call him, and he tells me that Mark, they'd found his father, Mark, in bed that morning at 59 years old, dead. And this one of the first things that came to me is like, I need to take a sabbatical. And where that came from was probably planted when David Bach gave a talk at the Genius Network annual event. Everyone could watch it if they. I'm sure Gina will post it in the chat here. But, he had given a talk on taking a 1 year sabbatical, but how to do it in 6 weeks. And I'll tell you, after I do this today, I'm going to write up what I think will be useful from this conversation to share and put out there on what I really learned from the sabbatical. I'll share some things, but I want to actually put it in writing. If anyone ends up liking this, I guess you can check with me in 40 minutes from now or whatever. But he had planted that seed of taking an extended amount of time off. And although I have been very open about being an addict, workaholism is one of the sneakiest forms of addiction, because you can hide behind productivity, you can hide behind
Virtue.
performance. Yeah. And it's sort of it's a different form of being a stimulant junkie, but you can do it through fame and notoriety and making money and having people follow you. It's very seductive. There's a book on workaholism, which the subtitle is The Respectable Addiction. And so, when my friend died at 59 years old, worth a bloody fortune, I was, what came to my head is like, what the hell is going on? It wasn't from COVID, it was, he just passed away. And I was like, man, how many people do I know that are very driven, very, very driven, and as Gary Halbert used to say to me all the time, the world advances on the backs of its neurotics. I mean, I love these successful people that go out and achieve things and innovate things and come up with stuff and take risks. I mean, it's admirable to see people, create stuff. The question becomes, though, at what cost? At what cost of your happiness, your relationships, your health? And so that's where I first got the idea to take a sabbatical. And then once that was planted in my head, then the scary thing became, well, how the hell do I take a sabbatical? I've got a whole business built around me. I definitely have low self-esteem and insecurity issues. And if I just disappeared for a year, people like me. What if they don't say nice things about me? Who's going to run Genius Network? Is it going to implode if I do it? And so I had to really start thinking about, if I'm going to take a 1-year sabbatical, this is the conditions I want. How the hell do I set it up? So you see Eunice here. We should probably Eunice, just say hello to everyone. Those of you that don't know Eunice, you hear me talk about her, but just say, sing something.
No, I don't sing. No,
come on, Eunice.
No.
So tell everyone who you are, just for the sake of.
I'm Eunice. I'm Joe's assistant for 27 years this month. 27
years.
Yes.
So what were your thoughts when I first said take a sabbatical? Because most everything falls on you first before it gets to the rest of our really awesome team.
Oh my goodness, we're going to do this, huh? We're going
to do it.
All right. So when Joe first mentioned that he wanted to take a sabbatical, I was like, yes, this is so awesome. And then a little while later, I was like, oh crap, this is how is this going to work? How are we going to make this work? But we made it work. We're still here. The business is still here. Joe's back. Everything is awesome.
Yeah, and she probably prays I would go back on sabbatical. Gina, what were your initial thoughts too? And tell everyone who doesn't know who you are, which most people are, because you kind of started this, and how long you've been on the team.
A veteran of this team for 18 years now. Absolutely 18. Love it. It feels new every day, and I think when I heard you were going on, I said it's a long time coming. Praise God that you were taking a sabbatical, not because we didn't want you around, but it does so many amazing things. When you hit a ceiling of complexity, you got to break something to break through. And this not only freshened up and livened up, it's like when you redecorate or something, it just freshened up and livened up everything that we do, from the rich cleaner stuff to the elf coaching to Genius Network to 100K.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I had to do though, Dean, and this was the hardest thing, and Eunice and Gina can attest, they've seen good sides, bad sides, everything. We've gotten great. I could actually have everyone on the team actually say something, but I won't go there right now. It required me to know that if I let this thing, it's a huge exercise in letting go, knowing that all of the stuff, the control freak side of me, that bad shit, at least that I manufacture in my head to be bad shit, things would fall apart, and would I be okay with that? So I had to make a decision that no matter what, I cannot be bought out of my sabbatical. The biggest thing that kind of pulled me into the thing, we had an IT issue where no one in the company, it was data that there was a potential loss of data or breach of data, and I had to talk to IT people, and I had to really take a look at stuff just to make sure, things were safe, and no one, I could have not paid someone $100 million to make that decision, because they wouldn't have known how to answer it. So that was probably the thing that I would say was one annoying thing during the sabbatical that I got pulled in for a little bit. just to kind of deal with that. But once we got some new IT people and stuff to handle stuff, then my team took it on from there. I also wrote a book that's going to come out with Hay House that will be later this year, most likely in November. It's a book on how to develop relationships with people, because that's the number one thing that people ask me is, how do you meet this person? How do you meet that person? And it's not about meeting people, it's about meeting the right people. It's kind of it's how to connect with people that you're aligned with, and how to disconnect with people that you're not aligned with. So it's a bit of strategy and things that I've learned over the years on how to build rapport and connect with people, and cautionary mistakes and things that I've done where I've somehow, find myself helping people that are narcissists or takers, or, outright con artists that are, very seductive, and you don't really know who these people are until, sometimes it's too late. So I did that as a book. But the thing that, to go back to Mark, I was like, well, if I just take an extended vacation, people are going to reach out to me. I've got to literally cut it off. I have to do this for myself, and I have to set it up to where I'm going to take an entire year. And I'll tell you, like now, I can probably advise people, and I'll do this in writing where I'm more thoughtful about it, on what you could really do to, I think, remove yourself from a lot of chaos without having to take a 1-year sabbatical. But I would tell you, if you have an opportunity to take long periods of time off, do it. And I did this. It was not a sit on a hammock and relax. I've used that line before. We're in the middle of a pandemic. It's fucking disgusting to me, some of the shit that's going on in the world. And it has, even a year ago, I was saying that, we're in the middle of a war. It's a different type of war. It's a cyber war. And what a war is organized murder. And you have to be sleeping under a rock or in complete denial to not witness organized murder all around us, from pharmaceutical stuff to political stuff to governmental oppression to real wars like what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now. There's just a lot of chaos. And the thing, though, is I had to say this Serenity Prayer quite a bit. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the wisdom to know the difference part is difficult, because, that's where it's like, what can I do something about versus, where am I just going to sacrifice myself? And it's like, where can I make a difference, and how do I also take care of myself in the process? And so that was the exploration, and that was sort of the motivation. And I've come out, I think, in a much better place. I got rid of a lot of relationships that I thought were good that I found were not. And there were some people, like I have this whole list here, Dean, of this stuff. But the first one of the previous, the lessons, the people that wanted to dispense the most advice on how to do sabbaticals are actually the people that have never truly taken one. And it reminds me, a sabbatical is your life. You can do whatever you want. So, I read the book Sabbath. I read the book, 6 Week Off. I read David Hawkins' book Letting Go. There was a lot of books that I read and videos that I watched and things I explored leading up to the sabbatical. But part of it is I didn't want to plan anything. People are like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to travel? And I went to a couple places. Yeah, I remember you didn't have any real
and that was, I know your first, literally, just for people who are interested, your first 7 days of it was a meditation retreat, right? That kicked it all off. Yeah. And do nothing. Be still for 7 days or whatever.
Yeah. What's funny is that, so I started dating, my girlfriend. Her name's Cherie. She's the top vaginal plastic surgeon in Arizona, and that is not a joke. Yeah, I could figure out how to talk about vaginas now in the most politically correct way. I could segue it at any conversation.
You got to pass now.
Yeah, and it's funny. And so we had just started dating at the end of the year before I did the sabbatical, and I had a couple of friends call me and say, you really got to go meditate with Joe Dispenza. It's so amazing, blah blah blah. And so I had, this event was sold out, but one of our Genius Network members, Barry Goldstein, does all the music for Joe, and then Patrick Gentempo and Lori Gentempo, they had actually sent a video.
There's no doors closed to Joe Polish. Let's face it.
What's that?
There's no doors closed to Joe Polish anywhere in the world. Come on.
There's a few, but most of them are not. Most of them are not. Yeah. So no, we're doing great stuff. I mean, we even have Jordan Peterson coming to our event in April for our 100K group. I mean, we've got some, we had, while I was on sabbatical, this was kind of cool. Even the former Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, one of our Genius Network members, got him to speak. I mean, we had it was amazing. It was amazing. But Joe Dispenza, had there not been the sabbatical, we were going to try to do an interview at the the I Love Marketing, the Genius Network annual event. But then we had the pandemic, and so I started the beginning of the year meditating 4 to 7 hours a day for a week with Joe Dispenza. And that's how I started the sabbatical, which was very cool. Then I went to Hawaii for, how long was I in Hawaii? I think I was in Hawaii for 18 days. And then I came back to Arizona, and I only traveled a handful of times. It was quite enjoyable for me. I know some people love travel, but for 30 years of my life, on average, I'd been on an airplane every 2 weeks, I was like everywhere. And how many of you, by a show of hands, like you have had way too much travel in your life? It's not one of those I see a handful.
Dude,
and so what's that?
Yeah, I've been, the exact opposite. Like since the shutdown, I've not been on a plane. I haven't left the state of Florida for 2 years, which is I mean, in my entire life, that's never been the case. I mean, I've been I haven't been more than 2.5 hours by car from Winter Haven in 2 years. So coming to Phoenix next month will be the first trip out of my out of the time. So anyway, fun. I mean, it's been, but I've learned a lot through that too, just being in one place.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, like me and Dan Sullivan it was the first time I announced I was going to do a sabbatical. We did it on the 10X Talk podcast. And he has this line where, and we did an episode on this, where entrepreneurs that are too tightly scheduled cannot transform themselves. Right. And so it's like, okay, where do I want to transform myself? What do I actually want to have happen? I didn't want to recharge my batteries. I wanted to replace my batteries, And that required me to think, like, how do I completely view the world differently, and how do I smoke out all the relationships that appear to be good, but we've all heard it a million times. The enemy of the great is the good. How do I get rid of good things in order to have room for the great things? All these analogies that I've used over the years, all these metaphors, which is one of the ways that I make sense of the world. Out of all the things that I can do, what's the bronze coins, the silver coins, and the gold coins? Right, and how do I do this in the middle of a freaking pandemic? How do I do this without not destroying my business? How do I, who's gonna hang out with me, and who's gonna rise to the surface? And it really, there were some people that were really incredibly respectful, and they did not reach out or any of that. And other people, they tried to, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? What have you learned so far? Where are you going? And it was just an energy that I became aware of how to pick up on gut feelings and sensations, and my spidey senses improved. And it's like, you don't give a shit about how I'm doing. You actually want something from me. Right. And look, that's okay to want something, but it's how I always make the distinction, and I go deep into it in the book that I wrote. There's a difference between pursuing an opportunity, because there's opportunities everywhere.
Yes.
I honestly, I don't think people are here today just because they want to, hear Joe talk. Man, on some level, hopefully I'll say something that will help, some opportunity or some insight or something that will give them some perspective that will be beneficial. But there's a difference between. What are you doing there? She's bringing me a drink. Thank you, sweetie. So there's a difference between being an opportunist and pursuing opportunities.
Mhm.
And so in the midst of doing the sabbatical, I became really aware of like, wow, some opportunities are traps disguised as opportunities. Some people, they're just the narcissistic personality. The person is very, very tricky, the way that they can present themselves. And, one of my goals with Genius Network is to have the most non-narcissistic group of high achieving givers that we can assemble together and put them together and let them all be helpful and useful to each other. And if the more you can smoke out the takers, the better. So I became way more aware. And I also really said, what am I doing? Like, what do I do that attracts bullshit to me? What are the sides of me that I need to look at that I'm delusional about, that I think I'm Mr. Nice Guy, or that I think I'm, what are all these things? So I had to do a lot of work, and I did spend time I have a friend of mine who's he's the founder of Codependence Anonymous. I mean, he created it years ago. He's this expert in addiction, and I was talking to him on a regular basis. And I even had Ken Wells. I don't even know if Ken's on here today, but I had Ken, who's been helping people with addiction. He's met with more billionaires, more famous people, but never in the context. No one would ever know who they are because it's all anonymous. Right. But I know this because I've been in groups with Ken, and I've met some incredibly influential people that struggle with addiction over the last 2 decades as a result of my relationship with him. But he wrote a book called Dare to be Average. And I told him,
Dare to be average.
I'm like, it doesn't sound aspirational. Most people do, but that's not the point of the book. The whole point is, how can you be okay when there's not, material items, and there's not all this sort of stuff, like, because at some point, you realize most of that is not what really brings you joy and happiness. It's like cotton candy. It tastes good in the moment, but it's not fulfilling. And life has a lot of pain and a lot of angst and a lot of boredom. And how do you find, peace and joy in your own existence without the continual need to be excited or stimulated or pursuing? In the pursuit of happiness causes most unhappiness.
Did you experiment with limiting like your digital access? Like, did you experiment with being a little more analog?
Oh yeah, totally. Because I had no social media. I mean, to this day, here is my iPhone, right? I do not have Facebook on it. I do not have Instagram on it. I do not have Twitter on it. I do not have LinkedIn on it. I have no, now I have, like, how did I post on Instagram today? I have a second phone over here, right? And that's the one that I hardly ever used. It's just a backup, right? And so if someone like sends me something to look at that's on social media, also, I'll tell you, like, these big tech companies and their anti-freedom of speech and their political slant is sickening. I mean, it's a tough call right now. There are certain things I just won't do, even though there's money to be made in it, just because I don't even like supporting some of the platforms anymore. So that's a struggle that I go back and forth with. It's like, you can reach people in certain ways, but at the same time, who do some of these people stand for? And there's a lot of people that I used to respect as entrepreneurs and business owners and icons of industries that I think now, pardon my language, that, I find some of them being piece of shit globalist human beings. So that's a little bit of the tug of war that I go on in my mind right now. And, I also look at every time I don't understand someone or I disagree with them, it could be in any sort of belief system, politically, whatever, I think to myself, if I had to argue for their side, how would I do that? And so I don't just go into something purely with my opinion. I really try to view the world through other people's lenses. Like, our Genius Network member, Dr. Don Wood, he's a trauma therapist, a great guy. And he has this wonderful line where he says, if you understood the atmospheric conditions of somebody's life, everything that they do would make sense. Why they believe what they believe Could be anyone, could be Putin, it could be Trump, it could be Biden, it could be anyone. You know, if you understood the atmospheric conditions of their life, how they end up the way that they end up, you know, it would make sense. And so there's a part of me that, you know, I try to understand that everyone's going through their own journeys in their own way. Right. But I'll tell you, there's an
interesting way when you interacting with other people. You were talking about Jordan Peterson, and you know, in his book 12 Rules for Living, 12 Rules for Life for Living, there's one of the rules is to treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. And you think what a mind shift that is. First off, too, that causes you to be detached from yourself, to look at yourself with empathy and realize, well, this guy just needs a little help. We need to do this for him. And I've been taking that mindset and thinking about it from our prospects, our marketing things. When people are inquiring about something in your business, or when you're generating a bunch of leads, to treat people, how would you treat them if you're responsible for helping them? Right. You know, it elevates things. It's like it's one of the greatest provocations, and it's right up there with Gary Halbert's idea of what would you do if you had to get a sale or you were going to be beheaded.
Yeah, I mean, the gun to your head. The
gun to your head that you have.
Gun to your head marketing. Like, if you had to make it work, how would you do it?
Yeah,
and you know, in the same thing. It does require really flexing the empathy muscle, and also realizing the anger and the bitterness and the reactiveness. You know, when my life functions, I'm responding to life. When my life is not functioning well, I'm reacting. And taking a sabbatical really gave me a chance to learn how to better respond to life. I did a boatload of yoga, a ton of breathing. I was doing Wim Hof breathing a couple of years ago, and then I became friends with James Nestor, who wrote an incredible book called Breath. And I'll ask Gina to post that in the chat. And by the way, a lot of people are posting in the chat. I when I do this, because of my distractibility, if I look at it, it'll totally throw me off. So I will read every comment later, I promise.
Recommend everybody do that too, by the way.
Yeah, and we will upload this. So if there's anything useful that I've said, you want to watch it again, we will put it up as a YouTube video and as an I Love Marketing podcast. But the thing with breathing, I learned how to breathe more effectively, even though I have a deviated septum and it's actually hard for me to breathe through my nose. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so I started taping my mouth, you know, before I went on sabbatical, because of, you know, James Nestor and what he helped me with. And then he introduced me to a guy named Patrick McEwen, who wrote, I think Patrick's written a bunch of books, but his latest book, I believe, is called The Oxygen Cure. Great guy. If any of you have asthma, sleep issues, I mean, he can train most people how to eliminate many conditions that in some cases people spend a fortune trying to fix medically. But when me and Cherie were on when we were on sort of a vacation in Park City, she was listening to the Wim Hof book, and I had never read Wim Hof. I'd watched videos on Wim. I have friends that are personal friends with him that have offered to introduce me to him. Sam Karashi, I don't know if Sam's on here, but Sam has, made a connection with me and Wim. I'd like to get Wim to actually come out to one of my, future events. But we started towards the end of the sabbatical, out of all the different stuff that I had done, I learned about cryptocurrency, learned about NFTs. I'm by no means an expert. I do own a couple of CryptoPunks, which is kind of cool, but nonetheless, and I own the CryptoPunk that looks exactly like me, bald-headed dude with like a goatee. It's great, but we're going to utilize that NFTs and stuff for funding recovery, for genius recovery and artists for addicts and whatnot. But I started doing cold plunges. So I see Lauren here. Okay, she's here, and I met Lauren at a place called Optimized. I don't know if if Michael or Jesse from Optimize are on here today, but if they
Michael's
are,
on. Yeah, Michael's on.
Michael's okay, good. Well, Michael, I'm going to have you talk in a minute then and tell people why they need to do this. Because
Nice.
so we started, me and Cherie were listening to Wim Hof's book called The Wim Hof Method. And what struck me, because I personally think Wim is like batshit crazy. I mean, he's a nut, right? But he's just done incredible things, and he's broken world records, and like the stuff that he can do with his body is pretty amazing. And why do we have Michael feature while I'm still talking? Get rid of that. Yeah, put it back to me, because I feel insecure if I don't feel like I have a frame around me.
Look at me. I'm back.
I want to pretend I'm a narcissist right now. Yeah. So and we'll come to Michael in a moment, though, because there's a story behind this. And by the way, the reason I'm telling you this, if anyone was waiting for a brilliant marketing strategy, this has made the most significant impact on anything I have done in over a decade. It is unbelievable. And so, and by the way, when I'm talking, can you see me, or is it totally fixated on Dean?
It's going back and forth.
Because
Okay. Just want to make sure.
I recommend for people, if they put it in speaker view up at the top there, that means whoever's speaking will be the biggest piece.
Okay. Yeah, my Zoom is doing weird.
If you want to be all Joe, you can just pin Joe up in his corner there. You say,
yeah, pin me right now.
And there you are. It's all Joe.
So, all right. So I listened to this Wim Hof book on audio because we're driving around different parts of like Park City, Salt Lake, Bountiful, Utah, all this. And this is during Thanksgiving. And the part about where Wim talked about his wife that had gone deeper and deeper into depression and how she ended up jumping off of an 8-story building and committing suicide. And he was left with 4 kids, no money, and literally no time to grieve, and how the cold had healed him. And I hate the cold. I freaking hate the cold. It's just uncomfortable. And when I say hate the cold, I mean, I live in Arizona for a reason. I don't like freezing my ass off. And so while we're there, the science that he talked about, because Wim, I believe his world records is he has up to his neck and packed in ice 1 hour and 18 minutes, I believe is his world record. And his core body temperature does not change. That's how much control he has learned how to develop over his body. And so we started doing cold plunges while it was snowing out in Utah. And then when I've gotten back, there's only been maybe since Thanksgiving of last year, I'd say total at this point, because I actually missed a couple days this last week, which is the most I've gone since I did it. Even though I was taking cold showers, not getting into a cold plunge, I think there's maybe been 7 days since Thanksgiving of last year where I have not gotten into a cold plunge. And when I say cold plunge, I'm talking up to my neck. And by the way, Gina, do we have that video?
Yeah.
Can you play that?
Yeah, let me get ready to share it. Hang on just one second.
Yeah, this was done at Optimize, and we're going to have, well, no, don't share it yet. I'll have Michael go first, and then we'll show you his facility. Yeah. So I come back from Utah, and I'm at Whole Foods, picking up some food. And I run into Michael, who I knew Michael, but we weren't like, we didn't hang out much or anything. We just knew each other from friends that had introduced us. And he's there with his girlfriend, Lauren. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And stuff. And I said, I've been doing cold plunging. I started, I went through Wim Hof's book, and Michael's Wim Hof certified trainer. So he knows Wim. And I said, I just told him about the experience I was having done it. And I said, so what do you got going on? He goes, well, I have a Wim Hof training this weekend. And he wasn't trying to sell me on it. He was just telling me what's going on in his life. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, well, I'm still on a sabbatical. I can do whatever the hell I want, right? And so 2 days later, I'm there at this Wim Hof half-day training that Michael's doing. And I get into a 32 degrees tub filled with ice. And that was, that was the coldest that I'd experienced so far. And now, and he has a facility here, one in Tempe, and him and his partner, Jesse, one in Arcadia. And so, I sign up for their place, and every day I do Wim Hof breathing. or some type of breathing, not always Wim. I usually do 20 minutes in the sauna. And if you look at the research that, like, Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about online, you have a 52% reduction in heart disease if you do a 20-minute sauna 5 times a week. There's decades of research to prove this. You literally can dramatically improve your ability to stay alive and function by stuff that really doesn't even cost much, if anything. You can, like, when it comes to cold plunges, and you can do cold showers. So, like, the medical industry hates this shit because there's no way for them to exploit, people for money with that. And so I got trained, started hanging out with Michael, and started doing this stuff. And so, Michael, just for people here that are like, what the hell is Joe talking about? Why would anyone want to immerse themselves into a cold plunge on a regular basis?
Great question, and good to see you, Joe. Hi, everybody. Well, here's the way I look at it is that stress isn't going anywhere. Everywhere we go, there's stress. You can't hide from stress. You're going to get stressful phone calls. You're going to get stressful situations, have stressful days. So you can't really hide from stress. You can pretend to, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. But what you can do is you can train and prepare for stress. And when you use stress in a positive way, like a cold bath or a cold plunge or sauna or exercise or the breathing exercise that Joe mentioned, what you're doing is you're preparing your body and your mind how to react and adapt to stress in a healthy way. So that's kind of the fundamental core of the Wim Hof method. It's a fundamental core of what we do at Optimize. And what we're doing is we're using stress as a teacher. And when you're in a stressful situation like an ice bath, you can learn how to influence your nervous system, your endocrine system, and all these different physiological responses just by using the power of your mind and your breath. Because your breath actually kind of is like a steering wheel for your nervous system. So you can steer it, fight or flight based on the way you breathe, or you can steer it into the more calm and relaxed. And the more you train and practice that, just like anything else, the more you're able to kind of translate that to everyday life, stressful moments, stressful days. So basically, me, Joe, Eunice now, Gina, Lauren, a lot of people from the Genius Network crew, we're all training ourselves on a daily basis how to react and adapt to stress in a healthy way.
Yeah, no, totally. And I will tell you, so I asked Gina, I have this video that we did, a couple of weeks ago, and it was very cold. The ice was sticking
very
to me.
cold.
And and usually when I go to Optimize, the temperatures between 39 to like 43 degrees is the average of their around 40 is where they have their cold plunges and stuff. I was getting in my swimming pool when it was still pretty cold out, and I know for some of you, like Evan Carmichael sent me a video yesterday, and it's snowing in Toronto. So nonetheless, I know some of you are still in very, very cold weather, and there's people that are all over the world that are on here right now. Thank you for 360
I did that
live right now, which is great. But play this video, and I stayed 3 minutes in this cold plunge, and I think it's like a minute long.
Hellootjes.
Hello. Wow.
Volume. Gina, is there no volume? Yeah, Gina, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we need some sound. Can we play it with sound?
Gina, does it share?
Gina, you're muted.
There's a share computer audio, Gina, in like the settings
Here I am.
of Zoom.
All right,
Yeah.
we got it.
Okay, this is for my Genius Network members. I'm at Optimize right now. I've been in here for 2 minutes so far, 2 minutes and 18 seconds. This is pretty darn cold. How cold is it right now, Jesse?
This is 32 and probably less than 32 in some areas.
So it's pretty much freezing. So I know this seems crazy. I hated the cold until I started doing this daily. Now it's one of the best things I've ever done. So At some point at the Genius Network meeting, we're going to hold a Wim Hof workshop. We're going to show you how to do the breathing, the cold, all that, and it's a game changer. I know it sounds insane, but it's one of the many things we'll introduce you to if you don't already do this stuff. And I'll be at 3 minutes and 6 seconds.
Wow. So Joe.
That's it, everyone. He said.
I did in Toronto at my house there. I had a hot tub, and I was there one Christmas, and I was in the hot tub and with my friend Glenn and a couple other people. And you remember, I was on a snow-free millennium, right? Like I'm totally against cold. And we decided it'd be a great, because it was snowing outside, and on the deck there was this big pile of snow, and we thought, well, would it be great if we got out of the hot tub and rolled around the snow like the Finnish people do. And I did that, and we jumped in the snow like doing snow angels, and it was immediately like being shot with needles in my body, because every, your cell or whatever, your pores were all wide open, being hot, and then they get in and they're immediately closing as tight as they could be, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced. Choo, 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 all over my body. Oh man.
Well, here's the thing though. Like Wim says, it takes about, if you do it for 10 days straight, you will become adapted to it. And I cannot tell you, I mean, look, I, for some bizarre reason, will suggest things to people and they do them. I don't know why. I don't know. Like, I don't even, I'm not beating it down anyone's throat that you need to go do cold plunges. I just tell people about it, and I've gotten dozens and dozens of people to start doing this.
Interesting. It's just an interesting thing to put yourself in a position that's so counterintuitive of what you naturally seek out. Nobody seeks out, I need to cool down. I need to get, unless you're hot, but nobody goes to seek out for comfort. I need to get really cold. Nobody like seeks out a fire, like you want to curl up, but we naturally gravitate to being warm, but nobody kind of gravitates to being cold. It's an interesting dynamic, because it's the opposite of what you would expect.
Well, here's the thing. That's where the reward comes from, because the more, like, I can walk outside now where, like, we were out in Sedona and it was snowing. Mm-hmm. And I was out in like a t-shirt walking around. It literally did not bother me. And if you would have asked me a week before Thanksgiving, that I would be getting into a cold plunge every day and I would be looking forward to it, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There's no way in hell. You're nuts. And it gives you such a dopamine hit. It's mental for the most part. Now there are, I'm sure, some physical. What is that? Let's identify that crazy sound. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Gina. Whoever that sounded like not a good thing. But what the hell was I saying, Dean?
Well, you were saying you got to build up to it. It reminded me of Ron White.
We apologize, whatever the technical things going on there. Is that a person, or can you tell, Gina, what's causing that? Unmute yourself.
I can't tell because it's only you and Dean that were unmuted. So it's from one of you.
Dean, really? Like, you have to be like this? So
my death metal. No, Ron White used to say
smelt it, dealt it.
Ron White. Ron White.
Mine says it's Susie Pees, Pees. It pops up on the top of my computer and says it's her sound. It says Susie, S-U-Z-E. Somebody hacking us?
I moved her to the waiting room. Thank you for that, Randy. I moved her to the waiting room. I tried kicking her out and I couldn't kick her out. So I put her in the waiting room. Good call.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. So I was to say, Joe, it sounded like you were talking that you got to build up to enjoying this. And it reminded me of Ron White, the comedian, saying how his grandmother used to give him enemas. And he'd say, I hated it at first. So it took a little while to get used to.
Of course, that would remind you of that, Dean. So everyone knows what to get you now for your next birthday.
Exactly.
No, here's what I would encourage everyone to do. I believe it will change your life if you go into things that are uncomfortable. You will be able to not only tolerate things that at this particular stage in your life you may find incredibly difficult, but you will then learn to embrace them and love them. And John, you just posted, I have to go. I just happened to look down and see John. And John, you do cold plunging, right? Are you still there? Did you take off? He might have already gone by now, darn it. But yeah, the thing with cold plunges is if you try it, anyone that's in Genius Network, we at the last annual event, we're going to have Michael lead a few groups and take people through it. We may even do some at my office because I have a big building that I own, and we have a cool setup, so we can where the float pod room is, and where we could do a couple of cold plunges and whatnot. But it is what it's done for me mentally. I cannot even explain. I can handle things on an anxiety level way better.
So you think an easy way to start would be just to, and when you're getting in the shower or out of the shower, turn the cold water on to end the shower? Is that
probably simplest way is download the Wim Hof app. He has a Wim Hof app, and it's spelled WIMHOFF. Michael, you want to speak to kind of a short course on how to do it? You can come down to Arizona and go to anyone that is a friend of Joe Polish can have a free trial at Optimize.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody on this call, and you guys coming to town, come check out Optimize. But if you really just want to get started, one of the easiest things you can do is just take a normal shower. And at the end of your shower, just turn it cold. And, summertime's approaching here in Arizona, so we don't have too much time left of cold showers, but the rest of the country, I'm sure, is going to be pretty cold for at least a couple more months. But you can start off with 30 seconds, and then you can start working your way into 1 minute, 2 minutes. But basically the discomfort of the cold, which, Joe keeps referring to, right, is doing something uncomfortable, is putting your body in stress, and then your body's adapting to that. So it's producing adrenaline. It's kind of creating some different chemicals that are occurring in the brain. One of the types of adrenaline that your body produces is called norepinephrine, and that decreases inflammation. So there's a lot of mental and physical benefits, but you can start with a cold shower, and then you can kind of transition into doing cold pool, ice tub, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. I just posted a video that actually Michael's the one that first showed me this video. It's a 9-minute video with Wim that's it's really not about the methodology. It's more about the mindset, and watch that. I think you'll find it to be pretty powerful. There's a ton of stuff online, and read the book Breath by James Nestor. Watch my interview with James. All this ties in: breathing, sauna, cold plunge. Those are practices that actually don't take time. I believe they will give you time. They will give you more life. They will give you more energy. It's not about time. It's about what you do with the time that you have and how you best allocate it. And and so the sabbatical thing really taught me better ways to take care of myself and best utilize my time. Dean, can I go through some of the lessons I got from it? Because I think, I almost have to fulfill on, we used, I think, some bullets of what did Joe get from his sabbatical? So, it would be silly for me. So I'll share a few of them. I've got a whole bunch, but I shared some of these at my annual event recently too, and got a lot of comments. People liked it and came up to me and said that was helpful. So humor heals. When you're going through a lot of shit, put yourself around people that are funny, things that are funny. If you spend all day watching the tragedies of the world and you don't give yourself a release valve from the pressure that builds up, there's physical aspects of that. That's where yoga and meditation and cold plunging and exercise and things we talked about, but also humor. You want to humor heals. The middle of the puzzle is where the gifts lie. Years ago, I'd written an article about, getting your hair done, joining a gym, going to a seminar over a weekend. That's outer puzzle stuff. You rearrange if your life is a bunch of puzzle pieces. But taking on a recovery program, doing an ayahuasca journey, doing things that are really deep core inner work makes every part of the puzzle shift. And so the real gifts in life is in the middle of the puzzle, not the outer edges. Crypto, blockchain, NFTs, all very fascinating, very confusing, and will make some people very rich. Some people will totally lose their ass, and they are changing the world. And it may be smart to pay attention to them. Try to understand things that are new before you say they're good or bad, because in a state of ignorance, it's easy to make judgments. Another lesson, unlearning is harder than learning. We're in the midst of evil. They, in quotes, are not doing this for your safety. Life is not fair, and I'm truly blessed. So I've been in recovery for addiction for over 2 decades now. And I've had, it's been a roller coaster. Recovery work from a life of chaos prepares you for chaos and uncertainty. It doesn't provide all the answers, but it helps. And all my friends in recovery, those are the ones that I turn to when shit is hitting the fan. They seem to have a perspective in a way to look at chaos in ways that people that have not gone through that journey don't seem to have. So it just gave me a whole nother perspective on addiction recovery. Because what is addiction? Addiction is a response to trauma. It's a response to pain. It's an attempt to self-soothe. And so, when your life has been out of control and you've been compulsively either destroying your life or, causing a ruckus for other people, and then you have to really take on changing and recovery from that. It's there's 2 types of recovery. Ernie Larson wrote a book years ago called Second Stage Recovery. What most people think of recovery is to get sober, quit drinking, quit doing drugs, sex, gambling, work, whatever, gaming, eating, whatever the addiction is. Stage 1 recovery is stopping the consumption, the chemicals, the drugs, or the behavior. Stage 2 recovery is dealing with all the shit in your life, which is mostly about relationships that cause you to do drugs or drink or behavior in the first place. So that's what stage 2 recovery is. And so, and it took me a long time. I'm not sure who that is, but Gina, zap them if you could. All right. A great way to be miserable is by comparison. A great way to be happy is by comparison. It's simply how you use comparison. So, our friends Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan wrote The Gap and the Gain, which is a great book. And it's really how you compare. If you compare your life to what you don't have, it's real easy to find a lot of other people that seem to have better lives than you do. But I will tell you, the very best life that you have is the one you have right now, and what you'll do with it, because you ain't gonna change that. You have to play it where it lies. My dear friend, Dave Kekich, died last year, and Dave was instrumental in my thinking, and, he was paralyzed from the chest down. And, he had I had 100 amazing credos. One of them is life's easy if you live it the hard way and hard if you live it the easy way.
Is there a website for those that are on? Like, is there a Kekich?
If people just type in Kekich Credos, they usually find me posting it. But Gina can, there's a couple things. But Gina, can you post the credos? Link to one of the things that's online with all the credos. They're great. And by the way, I've read over 1,000 books, and there's more wisdom on these 100 credos than anything else that I've ever read. And they're more relevant.
You had those little folding ones, and I used to just keep them in different places, and I'd look at one and just think about it. Just think, read one and think about how that applies and what that.
If like, how would we do this? I almost want to physically mail a Kekich Credo to. I got a funny exercise.
This is an interesting thing. Okay, let's birth something right here.
Let's literally have everyone send Dean, and then you expand on it. Here's my thinking, and then you tell me. Okay. I almost want everyone to send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I will insert a printed Kekich Credo little card that I have inside of it and mail it back to them.
Right.
If they will mail that to my office, and so I'm going to type the address. Or what? Go ahead.
Let's do a Cloudlandia version, and let's set up a auto text that sends one Kekich Credo a day for 100 days on a loop. I
I like that too. I like both of them. So how the hell would we do that this quickly?
That's a who question. Who would do that? Don't ask how, Joe. You know better than that. Or maybe while you were on sabbatical, there's a new book out called Who Not How.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just need to articulate the vision. So the vision is that you get, how, or it's almost like an app. Did you get seduced into the Wordle situation?
No.
Wordle is doing a wonderful thing right now where I got to get the view here of the full view of everybody. But who did the Wordle today on the New York Times? Yeah, there we go. Wordle is like a daily, not a crossword puzzle, but it's like that. It's a word, and you've got 6 chances to guess what a 5-letter word is on the thing, and they only do 1 per day, and it just takes you a couple of minutes. But if you thought about that, be a really interesting thing to have a somebody, maybe even somebody reading a Kekich Credo for the day, where it could almost be like somebody reading that today's Kekich Credo kind of thing, and you just think about the thing. Because there was Jerry Seinfeld used to, on his website, put up three jokes that he would do, 3 little video clips, and that was it. Every day you could only see 3. You can't binge, you can't do the thing. The purpose was you just watch these 3 and then come back tomorrow and I'll give you 3 more. But the same, I think the Kekich Credos are really meant to be meditated on, right? And thought about.
Yeah. No, they are. And I suggest people read them every day. Yeah. So here's what I posted. So I want you to send a self-addressed stamped envelope to 4440 South Rural, RURAL Road, Building F as in Frank, Tempe, TEMPE, Arizona, 85282. That's our Genius Network headquarters, with a note that says, send me Kekich Credos, spelled Kekich, Credos, CREDO''S, and we will insert the little card that we have there. It's a fold-out Kekich Credo card that I'm never on an airplane without a set of this Kekich Credo card. It's amazing. And I've read it more than anything I've ever read in my entire life. And including more than probably I've read, the 12 steps. And we'll insert it into the self-addressed stamped envelope that you mail us, and we will mail it back to you. And that's what I would do, and send that. And I would be very curious, out of the 300 and something people that are live right now, how many we actually get. Now, Dean, I like the digital version of what you're saying. I need to set something up like that. I do want to do that. But in terms of like right now, I'm not exactly sure what that would be, but I'll let my team ponder that while we're still doing this. And let me go back to some of the and how long are we gonna go for? We're gonna go for 90 minutes?
Whatever you want. I mean, we can do that, because you wanted to bring in some questions, right? And
Yeah. And I'll go through a couple more things that I got from the sabbatical, then we'll do questions. So, let's see. You don't really know what you got till it's gone. You also don't know all the bullshit you put up with until you step away from it for a while. It really, really, really pays to save money and be nice to people. I mean, obviously I was able to do the sabbatical because I've worked really hard for many years, but I've also, I've done my best to try to be thoughtful with money and investments. We are in the middle of a war unlike any that has ever happened on planet Earth. It's a physical, cyber, and psychic war, and the weapons are truly different. Drug dealers and pimps are truly running the world. They are and utilize the useful idiots that usually quoted to Stalin referred to as the media. This includes almost all media. Doing the right thing versus doing things right are much different options. The drugs that kill people are legal, and the drugs that can save people's lives are illegal. We don't need a war on drugs. We need a drug against war. I wish I could take every major politician on the planet right now and have them go through like a psilocybin or an ayahuasca or an ibogaine or an MDMA guided trauma therapy sort of thing. That would be, the world would be much different. Some people are very respectful and others are not. Some people want you to win and some people only want to win. There are less givers in the world than I once thought, but a lot of true warriors. That some people I used to respect have lost that respect based on their ability to be truly fucking stupid and controlling. People truly are under a mass hypnosis formation. The people that are conspiracy theory people are oftentimes the early adopters that actually saw much of the truth through the propaganda before most other people have. They were insulted, attacked, called crazy, deplatformed, canceled, sometimes lost their jobs, their freedoms, their livelihoods, and sometimes their lives. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone that has a conspiracy theory knows what they're talking about, but there's a lot of people that do. Life's easy when you live it the hard way and hard if you live it the easy way, from Dave Kekich. It's easy to lie to yourself and rationalize your behavior. People really do judge themselves by their intentions and judge others by their actions. There are no rules for sabbaticals. You do what you want. This one was a really, go ahead, Dean.
I do what I want.
Yeah. This one was a real valuable one for me. It's easier to make personal decisions when you're not burdened with business decisions. I said this one before, not being on social media is healthier for my brain than reading inspirational quotes on social media. Ernest Hemingway said, you can't get away from yourself by moving from one place to another. Yeah, so there's a lot more, but those are some of the things. And I wanted to quit pursuing so much stuff that was available to me just by making the decision to make it available to me, like peace of mind or like love or connections. And so much of that pursuit is as if it's going to be out there. And this was, I didn't want to go anywhere. I mean, I went places, but this was an internal job. I saw in a breathing video, the guy said some doors you can only open from the inside. And so I had to go on that journey. I didn't have to do it. I chose to do it. And one of the biggest things that also happened is I bought a town. I bought a 40-acre ghost town with Jason Campbell, Mike Leone, Ben Hootie, and Jennifer Hootie. So there's 3 groups of us, me and 2 other partners, and we bought a ghost town. I now own the town of Cleator, Arizona. I've been made the mayor of Cleator. Yep. So here's my mayor hat that Jason had given me. And if any of you ever come out to Arizona and you want to go visit a town, we're going to maybe make this the coolest little town in Arizona. We have a handful of living residents there. We now own the famous Cleator Bar and Yacht Club. And we're going to put this into the metaverse because I also am a founder of a VR company. I'll post in here, www.geniusx.com. Check out Genius X, but we're ultimately going to put Cleator into the metaverse. And we're going to have we're going to invite artists to come down and do cool stuff. We have our own Cleator NFT. I've not even told people to go buy it. And we've still managed to sell quite a few NFTs. It's called a Citizen. So if you happen to look that up on OpenSea or whatever, There's people that are trying to knock it off, but there is a real cleater NFT, and we're going to be doing our first event there. There's a guy named Nick Peterson who created an ecosystem, the Wolf Den, and he's going to take his mastermind group. He's going to run it at my office. Then he's going to take his group down to Cleator, Arizona on May 8th, which is a Sunday. And yeah, so I bought a town. I now own a town.
I love it.
And it's crazy. And when
Better
we
than
talked
us.
about it at the event, we said to everyone, what's your cleater? What is the big vision that you have for something? Because this started off as a joke. Jason Campbell, who runs Zen Wellness, he sent me a text months ago, and he said, do you want to buy a town? Haha, like a joke. And I looked at this thing and I'm like, by the way, is Jason on right now, Gina? I don't know if he is. If you are, Jason, say something. But yeah, this whole thing, I was like, man, my marketing brain, what the hell can I do with a town if I own a town? And so we started contemplating this and went down there and visited and looked at all this. And the residents of this town, one lady's lived there for 20 years, another guy's lived there for 22 years, another person's lived there for 16 years, and they were all afraid of like getting kicked out of the town. And I said, no matter what happens, I want to do our best to make every resident of Cleator, I want to make their lives better, because these people have lived very, very difficult lives. I mean, they're literally living out in a little ghost town.
Yeah.
And it is fascinating. And so the Cleator Bar and Yacht Club, we've become good friends with the people that lease from us, and we're going to rebuild this town. We're going to, and when I say rebuild it, we're going to, keep everything about Cleator that's really cool and restore it. And we're going to add in much better things like cleaner water and better electricity and better systems. And we're going to use it for Cleator for creators. And we're going to have maybe our own little version of like Meow Wolf with artists that come and create things, and maybe have a mining museum, because we have a couple of mines. And I also put in under contract with a couple of other partners. We've got 260 acres of mines that we are buying right now. So
Hawaiian punch in the water fountains. Yeah.
What's that?
We're gonna put Hawaiian punch in the water fountains.
Who knows? Yeah, but that's it. But everyone's like, what the hell's that have to do with anything? We are literally going to use this town to have people that think their ideas are batshit crazy, a place where you can vision and dream whatever you want to dream and make it a reality. Because sometimes you're this close. It's like my friend Peter Diamandis says, the day before a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. Yeah. And we bought Schitt's Creek. I mean, this town is a mess. There is a ton of stuff that has to be done. So don't think like we bought a luxury resort and there's no problems. Right. There's an enormous amount of infrastructure. But in the midst of a sabbatical being freed up, I was able to be like, yeah, this is a skunkworks project. This is a canvas for me. I actually can figure out how to utilize this town to fund addiction recovery. Yeah. And do amazing, cool things with it. And Tim Paulson wrote an article called "What's Your Cleator?" and he sent it to me. I haven't had a chance to read it yet because he just sent it to me. But we'll do an episode at some point, maybe talking about Cleator, showing you videos of it and everything. It's pretty amazing. And
you can make it famous with the Cleator Film Festival. That's all.
Oh yeah, well, there's even a film that was actually filmed there, which is I don't even want to tell you the name of it because it is a violent horror film, but they filmed part of it in Cleator, and it's absolute nuts. But that was done, I think, about a decade ago. But yeah, this place is so awesome. Gina, do you have the ability to show the Cleator video that I showed at the annual event? Can we even show? It's only like a minute long or something. Do you have it?
I'll pull it up. It's on the Cleator.com site, right?
No. We don't have the Cleator.com site. There is no Cleator.com site that we have managed yet. Rakeem can probably find it. But all right, so why don't we do this? If you can find it, Gina, if not, no worries. Dean, should we do some Q&A with everyone?
Yeah, let's do that. Mm-hmm. I think that.
Okay. All right, everyone. I hope my ramblings here were in some way funny and useful, maybe, but ask any questions you have for me.
What could you do? I think the best way to do it is to, on the bottom of your page here, in reactions, by at the bottom of the screen, there's a thing you can raise a hand. There you go, and that'll put you up at the top.
Yeah,
So
Jimmy has a question. If you could show yourself on video, that'd be better. But if you can't, no worries.
And there we go. I think that's probably a good start. Here we got 3 to start. Good.
Hey, am I in? I'm
There he
in.
is.
Yeah. How are you?
Hey, Joe.
How
Just
are you, my
took
friend?
a lot of peace breaks during your sabbatical myself because it's wanted and needed, and we don't give ourselves that treat. I wondered if you could put like another little book of ass kickers together from some of these lessons you learned from this. It would be
I will.
very valuable. I would love it. Everybody would love it. God love you for doing it and sharing it with us, brother.
Yeah, no, I will definitely do that. I will put everything in writing. I've got a bunch of stuff. I have so many insights and lessons, and I'll tell you, even my new book, which is going to be, it's called "What's in It for Them." A lot of it I wrote really with the mindset and the place I was in, and I think I think it's going to be a really valuable book. And again, I say this with hesitancy because you never know how anyone responds to any of your stuff until you put it out into the wild. But I will definitely do that. So thank you.
That'd be awesome, buddy. And even though you're away, I still got lots of love and insight and growth from connecting with the Genius Network and the rest of your team. You guys are just wonderful. Ripple effect, big splash. Man, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and by the way, my team was awesome. I mean, I could have never done any of this stuff without my team, and more of just years of just trying to piece things together. And so thank you. Thank you.
Cheers, brother. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Should we go to Russ or John, or who's next?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Russ.
Great to see you back.
Thank you.
So, over the past couple of years, even while you were on sabbatical, you've just given me so much value. I've doubled the revenue in my business over the time I've been in your health coaching group. And I was kind of hoping I could return the favor here and introduce you to somebody. I'd like to introduce you to Sandra Paul. She's here. Sandra, could you speak up real quick?
Yes, here I am.
Hi, Sandra.
So Sandra is also a member of your health coaching group. She's a friend of Yoko DeBoer, and we call her the hotspot girl. She renovates cities, Joe, and it's just like a perfect meeting for you two. Yes, you two have just got to connect. So I just wanted to be there, introduce the two of you, and I hope you can, you've got everything you need to get in touch with her. She's part of your ecosystem here. She eats your dog food. So hopefully that'll be a helpful for you.
Well, thank you very much. So Sandra, what's the quick version of what you actually do?
Well, I help transform seemingly hopeless places into hotspots. That's and I do it in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
So you live in the Netherlands, and so you're friends with that crazy man who's awesome, Elko. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you please send obviously, if you're in elf coaching, then, which, by the way, people that are wondering what that is a group that Dave, who's actually on right now, Dave Strand, he actually ran. Were you on elf yesterday? Were you on the group yesterday? Yeah. How did Dave do yesterday, by the way?
Yeah, he did great. He improved every time.
No, that's great.
Awesome. So I'm going to actually join probably on the next one. I think I'll be joining on, or at least one of the upcoming ones very soon. I was just talking to Dave in my office a couple of days ago about that. Please, Sandra, send Gina details about your company. Let me share it with my partners so that everyone can see. And we can arrange a conversation and see if we can do something together with what you figured out how to do in the Netherlands, what we're doing here in Cleveland. That'd be cool. Does that sound good?
You should see the books that she puts together, Joe.
What's that?
You should see the books of the projects that she's done. I mean, it's stunning. It's amazing.
Well, then let me know where I get one of those books, and I want to see it. That would be awesome.
She did a 10-minute talk that ran a little over, but I'll do some edits and bring that into you and show you.
Perfect. So, yeah, that'd be the best thing for me to watch 10 minutes. Then I'll totally get it. Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. And by the way, if anyone is not in part of ELF coaching, if they want to be part of it, what do they need to do?
They can go to elfbusiness.com and check out a little bit more, or they can reach out to me or Gina or anybody. We can help guide them and make sure it's a good fit. So
awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So let's go to, I guess, John, Mr. Checky.
I guess, John. Congratulations, Joe. You've once again demonstrated that as soon as you have a project, a contractor will materialize. But in terms of looping back to the Wim Hof method for just a second, one, I'm delighted that someone very close to you got to watch my 10-minute clock and actually helped her life too. So congratulations on your ice bathing partner. But
Yes.
in terms of what the benefits are from a non-person with a Netherlands accent and someone that has no medical background, at 74, I found it very energizing. I don't do an ice bath. Congratulations. I'm a scuba diver. I avoid cold water like crazy. But every day since October, not mid-October, I've been finishing off each shower with about a minute or two of ice cold water, Texas version of that. And actually it's been very energizing. And being a person of numbers, I always measure things in terms of, are you lifting more weight? Are you moving faster? How's your body actually feeling? And at 74, you can ask Joe Weldon at 80, there's always something falling off. But in terms of putting it back together again, I found that method very helpful and highly recommend doing it, starting with the breathing and finishing up with the cold water. You'll find it life-changing. And congratulations on all of us going to live longer thanks to our hearts lasting longer. Y'all have fun and be well.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, who's next? Rafna? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Hi, Joe.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm an ELF member as well.
Well, thank you. Congratulations. I hope it's awesome.
It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I've met some amazing people, and it's really a privilege to have eyes into your world. So it's terrific. So my question is, when you're an entrepreneur, you're so busy. Every day is busy with tasks and goals, and all of which you're just creating for yourself. When you break away and go on a sabbatical, what happens to your mindset? Do you wake up and say you're going to do these things? Are you still in that goal setting, mode? Or do you just wake up and does your mind just clear at some point in time and you go, I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm just reading, taking a cold bath, chilling. What happened to your brain and your mind? I'm just curious to learn. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I can only speak for myself because I'm sure everybody, based on how they view the world and how their parasympathetic system is versus, how much stress and other activities and obligations, real or perceived, are going on in their life. But I certainly, my mind always is quite an active mind. Even when I first have my first brain scan, I've had my brain scan 6 different times. When I first had it done in 2010, there was a resting scan and then there was an active scan. So they would scan my brain when it stayed calm for 20 minutes, and then they'd scan me. Then they would do word puzzles and memorization and all kinds of active stuff and scan me again. And Daniel Amen said to me, because he did the scan, he said, the way my brain lights up, he said, if you're not busy, you're not a happy guy. And so a lot of people are like, you just need to relax. You just need to calm down. Or if someone's having a panic attack, sometimes people will say, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. But what I've learned from Jen, who's an ADHD coach, she said, sometimes if someone's having a panic attack, you want to get out a magazine and tell them to circle every word that has the letter T in it. You want to engage their brain. Sometimes telling people to calm down and relax makes them more stressed out. And that's so counterintuitive to what some people actually think. And so it took me a while. And if you could imagine you're running really fast and then all of a sudden you're supposed to stop. You just can't stop. You have to, kind of ease into stopping. You don't just run as fast as you can and then stop. And so I found that to be similar. So what I needed to do is set up some ways to kind of put speed bumps. The meditation starting was a good thing. And I think any form of physical activity that's a moving meditation, if you have a hard time sitting down, like yoga as an example, or even certain types of breathing, is beneficial. But no, I certainly, my brain did not shut down. I just needed to redirect it into non-work activities or different forms of creativity, because my whole thing was not to, shut off being what I felt was a interested, curious, creative person. I did more art. There's this, I still stayed, I did work. I just did different work than I normally do. I did a lot of recovery work. I did a lot of time talking with people. I learned things that I never would have taken time to learn about. So I definitely kept myself active, but that was just for me. What I realized is some people really just need to get a lot of massages. They need to take walks. They need to slow the heck down. But that's how I experienced it. And the first month was a little weird. And then I kind of and then when I was done with it, right now, my whole thing is every 6 weeks, take a week off. Every quarter, take 2 weeks off. And hopefully in summer, I can take about a month. And when I say off, I'll check in here and there. I'm not going to be like completely off the grid, but there will be times throughout this year. You can't really see it from up here. I've got let me see if I can show you. I'm in this little cubby hole in this area of my house, but can you kind of see up there that, trying to see where I can show it. See that calendar? Yeah. Up there? Yeah. Okay. That is that's from Wait But Why, the site. Yep. And basically it's like every this is up to 54 years. Yep. And that's how old I am. I'm 54, and every one of those is a week of my life. So if I'm gonna live for to 90 years old, I've used up a good chunk of it. If I'm only gonna live another 10 or 20 years. So what it did is it made me think of my life in a completely different way. And I actually, having the entire year that was not normal work-related stuff last year was quite fascinating. And so I'm looking at every one of those weeks. I'm going to have several weeks this year that are not devoted to just trying to run a business and do stuff like that. Does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. And I know we're going long, but what the hell? If anyone needs to bail, they already have, or they will. Okay, Gabby. And by the way, I've heard awesome things about you. I just have not had a chance to really talk to you that much. I really have.
They're all rumors, Joe. Welcome back, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be a new member. And wanted to also thank Michael for hosting me at Optimize. It's an amazing experience. I was fascinated by you talking about arguing the other side, which is a classic debate technique, as we know. And one of the things that I thought of is you're good friends with Chris Voss, who uses that technique in a way in his negotiations. And I was wondering if there was a way to have a conversation with Chris to see how he would handle what's going on in the Ukraine to try to resolve that. Because in effect, Putin is holding this whole world hostage right now. And Chris is an expert, as most of you know, in hostage negotiations. So I think that would be a wonderful input from him that we could all use in trying to make sense about all this craziness that's going on.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let me see. I'll ask Eunice and Gina to make a note. Let me run that by Chris and see if he'd be open to doing a like a Genius Mornings or a discussion just on like ask him anything about that, because I would be curious to see how he would respond to a question like that. How do you actually,
And the other thing too, Joe, is we tend to ascribe when we talk about genius, someone is a genius in one field, we tend to ascribe them to be geniuses in the other field, and that's just not accurate. And
True.
We want to field a team that represents the values that we have, who have Chris's amazing genius in negotiations.
Yeah. There's a post that I just looked at the comments. Amber said, "Well, my heart breaks for people in both Ukraine and Russia. I'm not sure if what we're hearing is actually true. The people on either side didn't ask for war." Yeah, that's the most unfortunate thing about all of this. What my understanding and experience with the media is what is shown, the real story and the real motivation and what's really going on. That's, it's a complex issue that's way beyond what we have time or ability to even, I could ever properly address at the same time. And everyone has, different perspectives. There was what was that movie called about the the Israeli army years ago? Shen Yen, is that how they pronounce it? Shem Bet, the Israeli military, and there's that line in there that one man's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist. And the unfortunate thing about all of this is the sheer, and I don't just say this for Ukraine and Russia, just the sheer amount of innocent people's lives that get destroyed and decimated as a result of so much of this complexity. It's very difficult. I mean, I'm going to actually ask Jordan Peterson some of these questions, because Jordan Peterson, what I like about Jordan, he has a thing where he's like, some questions don't have an easy answer. Some questions you can't answer immediately. Some take hours, some take days, some take weeks. Some questions require years, and some require lifetimes to properly answer the question. And this is one of those things. It's just difficult, and it's incredibly sad that so many people suffer in so many ways. And I guess the best way that I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I will say to your original question of asking Chris, I'd be curious to see how quick Chris would respond to this. One thing that I try to often do every day is think, okay, what can I do? What should I do? And knowing that we can all do a lot in different ways. The whole star thrower story where there's different versions of this, but a man's walking along the beach and sees a figure down by the beach, and as he gets closer, he notices it's a little kid that is bending over and picking up starfish and throwing the starfish into the ocean. And the old man goes up to the kid and he goes, "Son, what are you doing?" And the son's like, "Well, I'm throwing the starfish in the ocean, because if I don't do that, they're going to drown." And the old man's like, "Well, son, there's starfish strewn for miles. What sort of difference do you think you're going to make?" And the little boy picks up a starfish, throws it in the ocean, and says, "It made a difference for that one." And so I think we can all make a difference, even if it's in little ways, even if it's just telling someone, any form of encouragement. So, but these are very complex issues. But to go to your thing, I will ask Chris. I'll see what he says, Gabby, and maybe we can have him as a guest and we can do a Q&A with him.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll just answer questions until my team tells me to shut up. Jonathan.
I think Natalia might have been before me, if you want to.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Natalia, please go ahead. And then we'll come. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hi, Joe. Amazing meeting. I really have a lot of notes. You're taking notes and learning from you. Thanks for that. And particularly, I felt excited about the idea about building small towns. Especially in this period, I think many young people can really have this idea, and it's something that's really cool, right? And
yes.
Other people who maybe done everything in their lives, seen everything, been everywhere and stuff, and this is something that can really be interesting for those two. So I really feel excited about that. Thanks for sharing. And another thing, I'm Russian based in Italy, and I do want to say that a lot of Russian people going through a very hard time right now, not compared to Ukrainians, of course, but those two very close countries,
Right.
always been from the very old age, and yes, and what is propaganda is saying, it's not true, because it also depends on how you form the question. Like people who actually, they're saying that people who are pro-war, who like looking for war or something like that, they actually have been asked, are you agree with the special operation in Ukraine? So it really depends how you present the question. That's what I want to say, that a lot of people who are going right now through a lot of shame, a lot of pain, a lot of families in Russia were formed by Russian and Ukrainians, the same in Ukraine. So
Yeah.
I think both nations are suffering greatly right now. Just wanted to share that. And thanks.
No,
for this
thank
meeting.
you. Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be so much generational trauma as a result of not only this war, but the pandemic and everything like that. I mean, when I sit and look at just the work I do in addiction, I mean, we have the greatest addiction crisis in human history right now. And even World War II, what many people don't know, there's a book called Blitzed. The entire German army was almost the entire German army was being given, I believe they called it perpetine, but Nazi Germany invented crystal meth in 1932, I believe. And when you see Hitler doing these, intense speeches, he was high as a kite because Hitler was being given drugs every day. And then the entire German army was being given perpetine, and they would fight harder, more aggressively, eat less, sleep less. And when you have long-term exposure to crystal meth, as an example, it removes empathy. And then they were able to do concentration camps and horrendous things. And what many people probably don't know about a lot of the armies is how many of them are being fed drugs. And it's so much of this has to do with addiction. There's a book called Wars, a Force That Gives Us Meaning. And it is a fascinating book. I mean, I could look at the entire lens of what's going on in the world through the lens of addiction. And that's a much deeper conversation. But it is, it's extremely sometimes very difficult to look, what's going on in the world and just, but also having the empathy that you can to know what you can and cannot do. And I have a friend who has been texting me all morning. He's in Ukraine right now, and they're trying to get orphans out of the country. And he sent me the last text. They've safely got 268 orphans, and you're just like, Jesus. I mean, so buckle up, people. The world's in a shitty place in some places, and also, don't get yourself drowning in the misery either, because it requires leadership, it requires responsibility, it requires, you loving and caring for yourself. I don't quote the Bible that much. There's a verse where you can't fix the world with broken hands. So in the middle of it all, we have to make sure our hands are not broken so we can do whatever part we can do. And I'm trying to say everything I'm saying, not, because I don't know, I don't know what's the side. Everyone has a side, everyone has a perspective. And even when people are doing terrible, difficult things in their mind, most of the time they think they're right. And that's what's complex. It's just complex. So, but thank you.
You have about 6 more questions or so, but we really have to wrap it up within about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I do have that video now for you if you wanted to play the cleaner video still, but
Let's see at the end if we can before, and then I'll just bust through the questions as quickly as I can. And I'll do some rapid fire ones. Thank you, Gina.
thanks.
Jonathan?
All right. Thank you so much for all the personal sharing. In the spirit, I'm also an ELF member as well and love everything in your ecosystem. It's beautiful. But in the spirit of I love marketing, and to bring it back out of all the personal stuff, I'm just curious if you had a fundamental shift or perspective change about marketing in your time off, and what that's going to look like stepping back into what you're about to start marketing.
Yeah, acquired the domain hotseat.com. And I really like dialogues versus monologues. And the more that you can create dialogue and interactive marketing, the better. It doesn't require you to have like as big of a list, tons of people. It just needs to be bonding at a deeper level. So the more that I can connect deeper with myself, the more that I can realize people just want to bond and connect. The event we just did at Genius Network, I probably had 20 people come up to me throughout the 2.5 days. And they said this was the best event that I had ever attended in my life. And these were people that run events. And this was a business conference, but it was a lot about just bonding with people. And I realized, you know, some people right now, they just need to process and talk, including me. You know, we're going through some crazy ass times in the world. And, you know, it's pursuit and money and selling and all that are obviously important in order to, you know, take what it is that you do for a living, a career, and get it out to people. And at the, you know, people do business with people that they like. And so part of it is, you know, people don't refund a relationship. And the more that you can develop deeper relationships, the better. So that's, if there's, I don't know if that's a grand idea, but it's just a deepening of how I think about things and how I want to pursue things in the future. Does that make sense?
I think that's pretty profound. It's about connection is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Totally about connection.
More,
it's all about connection.
There's something else. There's something else important about Hot Seat is it is the ultimate evergreen, current, cutting edge of the moment thing that you can do. When you are on the hot seat, the implication is you're getting attention. Your attention is on something. Everybody else's attention is on something in this moment to solve the most pressing, largest, biggest opportunity that you've got with the most cutting edge available tools today. When we were having hot seats in 1997, we were talking about mailing sequential direct mail packages to people after running and getting ads from trade publications. That's the kind of, you know, state of the art. But then somewhere around 1997, we started working email and websites into these things. And now it became a whole nother world. But Hot Seat is not gonna get old. Hot Seat is something that is evergreen. It's going to grow. It's at the front of the thing. And that all comes with having a great context. When you've got a context, like everything you can do to prepare yourself to be a valuable hot seat participant as a contributor, as somebody helping solve somebody's hot seat problem, is to be a current and past practitioner of, you know, the most effective marketing for generations. That's why we were doing, you know, fax marketing and using business reply mail postcards and things that were the cutting edge at the time, you know, but are not needed now. But it's that thinking and having that the reference and experiences of that you bring to what's going on in the current, in the now.
And what I'll do, Dean, when we figure out exactly how to roll that thing out, me and Dean will do some hot seats with people that have a business problem or a challenge, and we will, because I mean, I can bring some of the top talent on the planet and get, I mean, I envision bringing world experts and throw a problem out there and say, okay, let's solve it right now. But that's on the exploratory board right now. So thank you. Gloria, how the hell are you? You got to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Gloria. There you go. You had it for a minute. There you
Unmuted.
go.
There we go.
It's
How
a long
are you?
story. I need to catch up, but not here. I do want to introduce you to someone as well. She is not here today, but her name is Victoria Hale. Do you know her?
I do not.
She's a MacArthur Award winner. She is now the I think the head of the board at MAPS.
Oh, maps.org, the psychedelic place?
Yes, and
Okay.
she is working to bring things into the FDA that have not been. So I think that she would be a good addition. I will tell her about this, but I'd like to introduce the two of you. She is brilliant.
Great. No, yeah, and I do know Rick Doblin, who's the founder of MAPS, and he runs it, and that's great. And also someone earlier had posted a question of who would I recommend for, psychedelics or plant medicine as a doctor? Well, obviously there's things in America that are illegal. So in terms of who's one of the top psychiatrists in the world is Dan Engle, Engle. You can look up Dan Engle. Yeah, he's written books, and he has a facility in Austin. But we can do a future conversation on that. And Gloria, by all means. And how old are you now? Do you share your age publicly?
83.
83. Gosh,
yes.
You're awesome. We met each other years ago at Canyon Ranch.
20. I think it's about 20.
Yeah.
And
You're awesome.
I also have to tell you that part of my story is that I don't know if you remember, but when I was 47, I had open heart surgery, and I was told that I would not live much longer. There was nothing more they could do for me.
Wow.
Here I am.
Yeah, exactly. Here you are.
About that.
Yeah, and you're an artist, and you're creative, and you're funny, and you're awesome. So it's so great to see you. Great, and we will catch up. So thank you.
Okay.
Look forward to meeting Victoria. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I think we can do maybe two more, Joe.
Okay. David?
Hiya. This is a little bit left field. The work you're doing in Cleta?
In what?
In Cleta. The work you are doing in Cleta?
Sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
Cleater,
your town. Yeah, the town.
Clear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Am I confusing you by speaking English?
Yeah, exactly. You got to speak in some weird accent or something here.
We invented the language. This is how it's supposed to sound, Joe.
No, I understand. I used to go to Australia, and I would say, you guys all drive on the wrong side of the road. I would say this to events. It was kind of funny, but I'll do my best.
I will be brief. This is a bit left field. I'm a presentation skills coach, but 30 years ago I got involved in memory. And I've spoken to like 500,000 kids over the last 25 years in 25 countries. And I just wanted to offer my services. If the kids in Cleta, if the education system would be interested in some sessions on how to pass their exams.
The kids in Cleta?
Yeah.
It literally is a ghost town with about 8 residents and then a whole bunch of other people that hang out there. There is a schoolhouse though. And we're gonna remodel the schoolhouse, and we will see about. But I'll tell you, there's Bumblebee is another town that's by there. But look, I am open to any crazy ass ideas if they're doable, and they would add to it. I mean, I even sent, because I know him personally, I sent the governor of Arizona a video of a presentation about Cleater, and I'm going to do my best to build this whole town up and make it really something awesome. But
is there a website anywhere where you would find what's on the exact opposite side of the earth of Cleater? How would is there any geophysicists on the planet that could, is there a website,
Google Earth, right? So
something, is there something that could show you
Google Earth
geographically that could be the, you remember when you were a kid and you were going to dig a hole to China? Well, it would be interesting to see what is actually on the other side of Cleater. And if it's somewhere interesting, it would be an amazing thing to.
Well, when you get it up to 12 residents and you get one child, and they need education, then maybe I can assist.
Let's Gina, go ahead and play the video real quick.
All right, unmuted, share screen. We want this beautiful lady right here. Share and.
tiny ghost town about 90 miles north of the valley, and now it is for sale. Team 12's William Pitts takes us to the town of Cleator, where you can find a bar and even a yacht club.
Okay, here we are. We're in a town that was established in 1869, and it is a very special place, and we are going to preserve it and make it more awesome than it's ever been. And there's going to be a lot of healing that takes place in this town.
Okay. Well, the video was a little choppy, but it still, I think, makes the point. So thank you, Gina. So, okay. Well, there you go, David. That's what it's like so far. But give us a bit, and we'll maybe have you be the region professor there. We'll see. Lionel, how are you?
Doing well. Yourself?
Doing great. Thank you. Good to see you.
Awesome. Likewise. No, as you know, I mentioned to you, I've been reading the book Life Gives to the Giver. And one of the things that I came across on there, I just wanted to bring up, where you talked about there's opportunity in your anxiety. And for me, one of the things I avoid, this is, one of my things is like direct conflict, or, things that could, turn into that. And so that's like those uncomfortable conversations there, but it caused that anxiety, for me. So that's one of the things that I was been working out. And you talked about, one of the things you mentioned was since the fear is always there, treat it like you're riding a wave. And so I've been trying to, for me, was what I just recently in the last couple of weeks is just bringing a conversation up, like out of the blue, with whoever this persons may be, in order to just get past it. That's the way I've been trying to, deal with that. But I wanted to, share that, and anything that you can expound on with that.
Well, look, I think fear is an indicator. Well, there's different types of fear. Some fear is like, get the hell away from here. Other forms of fear, it's hard to have fear without excitement, and it's hard to have excitement without fear. Some fear is damaging and dangerous, and it's, life's way of saying, protect yourself. Others is it brings you up close to the things where there's a challenge and you can take something on. So one of the things I heard early on in my 20s was do something every day that scares you. And that has to be taken in the right context. That doesn't mean run out in front of traffic. That's just freaking stupid, right? But there are certain things where you want to keep putting yourself in like, believe me, getting into a cold plunge every day is a bit scary. But the more I do it, the more I become adapted to it. Last week, I spent 13 minutes in a cold plunge up to my neck, like crazy, right? But it was all mental. So most of the things that we worry about in life, it's just manufactured sort of things. So what I would say is, part of the whole growth process is being able to continually address the things that are scary. And some of those things are, there's that wonderful Joseph Campbell line, which is the cave we fear to enter holds the treasure that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Yes. No, thank you. Appreciate that.
You got it. Yeah, write that one down and post it somewhere. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. All right. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Carrie.
Hi.
Hi.
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for this. So, the point of the question is related to healthy achieving. And let me just do real quick. In my situation, I have not historically been a super achiever. I am a single parent, and it's very necessary for me in the providing all the things to take this on and bring my gifts out into the world and serve. I love serving. I usually don't care about money. So yeah, and in after your experience, how do you feel about going about achieving now, keeping sort of the bandwidth to develop all of those deep connections with, new clients and all the things, and then creating structures in a way that are replenishing so that like we don't get into nervous system burnout? One of the reasons achievement hasn't been the highest on my list is because I have a lot of healing that I've done related to nervous system stuff. And so I don't like lots of pressure on myself. I like to be able to move throughout the world in a way where I can feel really regulated in my own sensitivity. So coming out of this, if you're like, could go back, 20 years or whatever, and restart your achievement journey in a way that would reduce any kind of like burnout and just keep you really balanced, what would you do?
That's a good question. Let me see if I can do a short answer to that. If I could go back, I would have been more clear on who do I want to be a hero to, which is a Dan Sullivan thing. So who you should spend your time with, the things that you can spend are your time, your attention, your money, your effort, your energy, are people that you really feel connected to. Anyone that gives you any sort of vibe of run away, get away from me, kind of like there's a vampire showing up, narcissistic, anyone that has any sort of taker energy, I do my best I'll be courteous, but I don't engage. And in the past, I used to always try to sell people on it because, oh, you like me, or, I'm important, or I have something that could help you. My friend, Sean Stevenson, who passed away a few years ago, he was a brilliant guy. He basically said the lifeguard strategy is, if you have a life jacket and there's people drowning, you want to offer the life jacket to people that are swimming towards you, not people that are swimming away from you. So I only want to align myself with people that are aligned with me. And if someone is not aligned in your thinking, philosophically, whatever belief systems are important to you, integrity, character, capabilities are valuable. Character is way more valuable. There's a lot of people with great, Hitler had incredible capabilities. Hitler murdered people, so his character, so I look for character, not just capabilities. And I look for things that are easy, lucrative, and fun. If someone's easy, lucrative, and fun, yeah, that's a good relationship to have. But if not, the not to-do list is way more important than the to-do list. One great, amazing human is worth more than dozens and dozens of semi-good people. It's the same thing with ideas. One elegant idea is worth more than 1,000 semi-good ideas. So my criteria is easy, lucrative, and fun, integrity, possibility, probability, things like that. And create your own criteria, what would be your rule book, and focus your energy on people you'd want to be a hero to.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. So everyone, I am so sorry, but we do have to wrap it up. Our next I Love Marketing Meetup Live is on April 20th. You can register at I Love Marketing Zoom. And just type in the chat before you log off what you thought of today. Thank you to Joe and Dave.
Wow, welcome back, Joe.
No, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, please write what you got out of this and what you think the return on your time here today would be worth. And there was one question about the person in Ukraine. I will send you a private message right now. If we can just stay on and post whatever you got, I'll try to find that and see if I can give you, actually as a person that, can you give us a connection for the person looking for places for the Ukrainian orphans? My church has just brought 147 people from the Polish border to a village here in Switzerland. I'm sure we can help in some way with the children. If you can send your contact info and what you're doing to, Gina, can you take that email?
Members at joepolish.com. Members at joepolish.com.
Members of Joe, yeah, and send that, and then I'll get that over to his name's Kevin, and I'll see if he can connect with you. And so everyone else, whatever you got out of today, thank you, Gina, thank you, Dean. But let's take a couple minutes to post. I'd love to read it, and I will read every single comment that is sent. I appreciate it.
I love it.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you to whoever, to JDev for looking up the antipode of Cleater. That
was the Professor Rush Hanish.
That's great. It's right in the Indian Ocean. But I wonder, that's if you go through the center of the earth. but I wonder if we could get a thing. What happens if we're on the top here, if we went like just through, kind of like if we're going on a ball, rather than going through the center, to go through just a straight horizontal line through our the top or whatever. We just kind of poked our way out, if we could end up in like Kazakhstan or some one of these somewhere over there. It'd be an interesting. That would be a fantastic like thing to have the Cleater Exploratory Society.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Anywhere you want, Dean. Anywhere you want.
Yeah.
Awesome. And by the way, yeah, so if you, Gina posted again all the different things that are going up. The next I Love Marketing Live is April 20th. And then join the marketing Facebook group, Interested in Genius Network, blah, blah, blah. Elf Coaching, elfmember.com. And joesfreebook.com. If you guys want to read my book, Life Gives to the Giver, you can download the digital version for free. If you want to pay for the actual physical, we just charge shipping and handling. We send it to you. Send us the Kekich Credo. You'll get the Kekich Credos if you send us a self-addressed stamped envelope. And there was a question about where's the video of this. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. So subscribe to our YouTube channel on YouTube, and we'll put it out as a I Love Marketing episode.
YouTube. Okay,
if
guys.
anybody wants to save the chat, you can hit those 3 dots on the bottom right.
Fantastic.
Yes. All right. I think that does it. And Brenda and Gary, sorry we didn't get to the questions, but if you guys are at the next one, we'll do it first if it's still applicable.
Email me at members@joepolish.com. I'll pass your question on, get you an answer.
There we go.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Have fun and be well.
Thank
you, John. A great week.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Gina, Eunice, everybody. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, go back.
That is pretty funny. That is awesome.
Love you, man. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.